Yeah, I need me a Zoom camera to zoom in on that, but we'll do that we'll do that at the next town hall where I can tell people how important the census is. We're live. Okay, we are live now, and we are coming to the first town hall for me, Councilwoman Shirley Lanier, and I wanted to be able to have some kind of interaction with the public. District 3, as you know, is one of 5 districts in the city of Riviera Beach. District 3 encompasses um, Federal Garden, it encompasses Harmony Heights, Stony Brook, it encompasses all 1st through 10th Streets off of Australian. And these are the areas and actually, District 3 is the biggest district that is in the city. So I really want to be able to let you know that what we're doing in the city of Riviera Beach and also within District 3, some of the initiatives that I have tried to bring to the city, some of the things that we're trying to accomplish in the midst of COVID-19. We're going to have some conversation about COVID-19 because it is very important. We're going to have some conversation about the census, and we're going to have some conversation about some of the programs that I want to be able to be a part of the city. So, with that being said, we have people here tonight that I want to introduce you to. We have our city manager, Mr. Jonathan Evans. We have our assistant to the city manager, which is Marsha Noel. We have the young lady who works with me. She's not my assistant. She's not my aide. She works with me, and she makes sure that everything gets done. Because that's why you see my beautiful face right now, because she has worked it all out for me. And also a shout out to Mr. Walter Sharif, who is making sure that you can see this face right now. So I really want you guys to listen up and see what we have going on. I want your feedback. I know a lot of times when we have these council meetings, we have these CRA meetings, you have to send in your comments through email. It gets kind of difficult because you can't come up to the podium, you can't talk to us face to face. And of course, given COVID, I want to be able to have an opportunity for people in the public who live in District 3, who live in the city, to be able to say, this is what's going on in my neighborhood. This is what's happening, so that we can be able to know exactly what it is that we need to work on. Because, and as I say, from the time that I was elected because there are 35,000 people in the city of Riviera Beach. And you chose me to be able to represent you. And I know that I'm the voice of you guys because it is not about me. It is about what you need in your own particular neighborhoods and what you feel that is best for the city. And because I was born and raised in this city for the last, I'm not going to tell you how many years, for the last how many years, I've been here. And my mother and father have been here since the 60s. And I have a vested interest in this city, given the fact that I know its potential. It is a small city in the 37 municipalities in Palm Beach County. We are about 35,000 residents, but I know that we can be a powerhouse, and I know that we can make change to this city, and we can do it regardless of the past. We are living for what is the future. We are living for what's happening today, and whatever happened to the city of Riviera Beach in the past, and however people think of us is of no consequence right now, because we are moving forward, and we want to make sure that the city of Riviera Beach becomes a model for other cities of this size to be able to say, this is what we're doing in the midst of a pandemic. This is what we're doing in the midst of an election coming up. This is what we're doing because we want what is best for this city. So, with that being said, I want to turn it over to Mr. Jonathan Evans, who is our city manager, to introduce himself and give you a little background about what we're doing with the city of Riviera Beach.
Well, thank you, Councilperson Lanier, for holding this town hall meeting. Certainly under the leadership of the City Council, and specifically what you've done for the community with regards to the section of the Municipal Operations, Health and Human Services that you've been you cheer our cheerleader, as well as our spearheading a lot of our initiatives in our community when it's mass distributions, whether it's feeding, whether it's testing. You've been intimately involved in those elements, which have done a lot for folks in our community that are hurting associated with this pandemic. So kudos to you and your board members for seeing the value in some of the things that we've done from a municipality side. The mask that you have received in the mail, uh, let there be no mistake, the city of Riviera Beach was the first to mail masks. And you saw that the county then followed and sent out masks to almost 1.5 million people in Palm Beach County. That was based on the model that the city of Riviera Beach did. And we didn't just do it once, we did it twice. So we have led by example. We would continue to lead by example. The council person has been very clear with regards to her vision for economic development and opportunities, wants us to make sure that we have a seat at the table, that we look to promote diversity and inclusion. And if there's not a seat at the table, then we need to bring the table. So we're doing everything in our power to make sure that we're moving the economic engine for the city. There's a lot of development opportunities that are on the horizon looking to revitalize and reconstruct some of our municipal facilities. So there's a lot of positive activity that's happening in the city of Riviera Beach. The council has adopted and coined Riviera Beach 2030, looking into the future. The workshop that they did the weekend of July 18th and 19th talked about municipal facilities and reimagining Riviera Beach. So there's a lot of things that you're going to see that are going to happen very quickly with the elected leadership as they look to move this community forward. We still are battling the pandemic, but some of the things that we've done as it relates to this pandemic is unique and separate and apart from other municipalities. We've done our weekly conference call with the elected officials and the community. No other municipality is doing that. So you're getting real-time updates as to what's happening and what the virus is doing in our community. We were able to spearhead a lot of initiatives. There was a grants business assistance program that was spearheaded, and actually councilperson Lanier was the first person that looked at the program in Boynton Beach and said, hey, we needed to do this. And we didn't just do it on the CRA side, we did it on the CRA and the city side. So we're almost $400,000 was provided to local businesses, whether in the CRA and the city of Riviera Beach. So there's a lot of work that your council is doing. There's a lot of things that are going to continue to progress on. And we're really looking forward to more conversations with the elected leadership and the city council. We're in the process of the budget. So please, this is the time. Councilperson Lanier has given you a venue to communicate your thoughts, interests, perspectives. She will be deliberating along with her peers as to how do we look to utilize the $168 million that the city of Riviera Beach is entrusted with. And so these are the conversations and the venues that need to happen. And thank you, Councilperson, for facilitating the discussion. I'm here to listen in, to answer any questions, to follow up, and to provide any insight when needed.
My mic was off. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the fact that, I was, well, all of us in this city, when I was campaigning for this seat, many of the people in the city said, are you going to bring back Mr. Evans? And I was like, yeah. They said, well, okay, then if you're going to bring him back, then I'll go ahead on and vote for you then. So, this was something that a campaign that I ran on in a sense that I wanted to make sure that the people who were running the city, the people who were making sure that this city thrived, were people who knew who how to do the work, people who had ethics, who had morals, and also people who did not have an aversion to work. Now you understand that there are people who they don't like to work. They're not trying to show up to work. They're not trying. That's just how it is. Sometimes you find people that they're just not. They're just gonna ride it, and they're not trying to do no work. But we're in a position where we have to show up. We have to work. We are in the middle, and I'll say this throughout this whole conversation. We are in the middle of a pandemic, and guess what? When we come out of this pandemic, we're going to be in a position to thrive. We're going to be in a position that, this new normal that we have, we're going to be in a position that we're going to be the city that people are going to look to say, you know what, during that whole pandemic, I mean, I'm telling you, people are testing positive, people are dying, and I don't want to be the face of doom and gloom. I really don't. But we have to understand that there are going to be some people who are going to be lost along the way, and we have to realize that even in the midst of that, we got to put the work in. We have to make sure that when we come out on the other side of this, that we're the ones that say, you know what, this is how we did it, this is how we're doing it, this is how we're going to move forward, and that we are the ones that people are going to look to as a model. That, you know what, the city of Riviera Beach sent out masks when the pandemic first started. Not everybody wants to send out masks. And we're not saying that, oh, we're number one and we did it first. I'm not the kind of person to even brag on that kind of stuff. We just want to be the model. So we're doing this. If we're doing this and we're trying to make sure that the residents in this city are safe. And one resident wrote me and said, you know what, it should not mask should not be mandated. Then my position on that is that, you know what, if you wear a mask if you want to, I suggest, the CDC suggests, all epidemiologists suggest, everybody who's in the medical field suggests that you wear a mask. It is up to you. We're not going to force anyone to do anything. All we're saying is that it is less likely that you will catch this virus if you have a mask on. If you choose to wear a mask, that is up to you. I am not going to force anything on anyone. But what I will say is that a person of, having a master's degree, having my background in public service and public health, I know that if you do wear a mask, if you please,
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen only mode.
if you're now in a position where you are in a group of people, that you just have to protect yourself. It's just like anything else. If the scientists say that 6 feet apart, wearing a mask, and not being in a crowd of more than 10 people is something that you can do to be able to protect yourself, I'm going to go for that. It is up to you to decide how you want to live your life. And I'm not going to sit here and tell anybody that you should do this and you should do that and you better do this. That is up to each individual personally. And I say that because there has been some pushback publicly about wearing masks and about social distancing, and people think this is a hoax. That's fine and good. But I just want you to know my position on this, and to know that the city of Riviera Beach does have masks if you need some. We are practicing social distancing. We are practicing making sure that people are far apart when we have meetings. And that is up to you if you want to participate, and that is up to you if you choose to do something otherwise, because that is not my position. Second of all, what we have to understand is that it has to be, when we're talking about masks, it's not only about you people, it is about the safety and health of other people. So, it's just a matter of respect. And if you don't agree with that, that's fine as well. But I want to introduce you to my next panelist, who is Marsha Noel, who works with the assistant city manager, and she does the census for the city. Now I asked her to be here because I know you heard this a lot about the census. Now in my back, let me put this finger right here. Put this finger right here. Okay, and this on this side right here, you'll see a picture behind me. That is my great 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 grandmother, my father's grandmother. And I got that picture and I found her in the 1890 census. My relatives, my father's mother, my father's grandmother, they had told me about her, Rachel. And I really never knew her, of course, because she was in the 1890 census. But I found her, and I found a lot of people in my genealogy. My great 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 grandmother, my great 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 grandfather. I found these people in the U.S. Census. So I'm a very big proponent of census because I'm telling you, some people, all of y'all who are listening out there, we're not going to live forever. We're not going to be here forever. So the thing that you have to realize is that what is it that you can do to at least, for your great 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 grandchild to find you in the census. And I found this lady. in the 1890 census and learned all about her and had the opportunity to do more research because I found her there. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Ms. Marsha Noel, and she's going to let you know how we in the city of Riviera Beach, and then two, another thing, the importance of the census. When you fill your census papers out, the more that you fill it out, the more people that we have, that means that's how we count congressional districts. That's how we count Senate races. That's how we have representation in Washington. That is how we say, you know what, we are a powerhouse and we are the people to be reckoned with because guess what? We fill the census out. And yes, the 30,000 or 35,000 you say that we are here and we are registered and we know that we're here. So it can't be any denying of that. So I just wanted to understand the personal side for me for the census, and also the side for me in terms of being representative in all of these houses in the state house in Tallahassee, all of these houses in Congress, that we have to be represented regardless. So I'm gonna let Miss Noel give you some information about how we want to do this in Riviera Beach.
All right. Thank you, Councilwoman Lanier, for inviting me to this wonderful opportunity to speak with our community about this very important once in a decade census. And so, what I'm really going to do for everyone that's listening is kind of share the significance of this of the census, to kind of expand on what Councilwoman Lanier said, and then also share with you what the city has been doing, and then where are we as a city with regards to our census response, right? So to what Ms. Lanier was saying, so that is very true. The census determines a lot of things for communities. And when we think about the needs of our communities, if we think about what personally affects us here, whether it may be our public safety service, whether it may be our infrastructure, whether it may be education, health, or health and human services type programs, the census determines how monies, specifically $675 billion are going to be distributed across the nation. And so back in 2010, the city's self-response rate was at an overall 52%. 52% of people in this community responded to the census. And so we got 52% worth of monies, when we know that 100% of our residents utilize the services that impact them the most, and we're only getting half as much to serve the community. And so by you participating in the census, improving our response rate, we can make sure we have adequate amount of funding sources coming through to support the initiatives that we value so much in our city. And so with that being said, I do want to touch on some things that so that you're aware of that we as a city are doing. And my hope is that with this information, you can also encourage and let your neighbors, your family know, so that they can too look out for these activities that we've implemented. So just to give you an,
I just want to stop you right there. I just want to say, excellent. I just want to say, guess what? The higher the count, the higher the money.
simple as that. Higher the count, higher the monies, right? And so just to give you a sense of what the city has been doing, and these are particular, activities that we are putting on with our resources. We're not going out asking for extra support or resources just yet. We're utilizing what we have in house. So first, we've been able to put together the city's first census call center. And that census call center is staffed with 3 individuals that work with our city employees, who will call as many households as we can to remind them to do the census. To this date, we've reached 1,000 people simply by calling their phones through various contact lists that we have, such as our utility billing accounts, and also through any registration contact lists we've been able to obtain from various events that we've held. And so you've probably already received a phone call or a voicemail from one of our employees just kindly reminding you to do the census. In addition, they're willing to help you complete it over the phone. And that's one thing about the census. It's no longer a paper questionnaire as it was back in 2010. They've opened up the communication tools. And so you can actually call the census directly, and there's various numbers for different languages, such as Spanish, Haitian Creole. I understand we do have individuals in our community that speak those languages, and it might be your primary language, and also in English by telephone. And then you can also go online to do it by internet. And of course, you could do it by mail. So they're calling and making sure that you're using whatever you can to get your census done. That call center's line is 888-6 census, or otherwise 888-623-6787. They're open 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. And then next, we've also been able to put around the city various signages. You probably have seen our large electronic message boards, just reminding you to do your census and to call our call center so we can help you with filling it out if you need. In addition, we have vinyl banners, 12 of which are laid across alongside various major roads in the city. We've put out communication through utility billing mail, which reaches thousands of our residents. And in addition, we have electronic flyers and things we sent out in the past through newsletters and what have you. And so we're going to continue pushing out the information, because as much as possible, if we can constantly remind you, then I know that in some way we're making a difference. And I'll kind of talk about the difference that we're making through our through the measures we've taken. In addition, we've done a Trust Us video campaign. We have employees that took the time out of their day to participate in a video whereby they're simply just telling you to trust us, and we encourage you to do your census. We have representatives from our fire department, Parks and Rec, YEP, our youth programming, telling you, hey, these dollars impact how much we can serve you. And so if you can understand from the perspective of the employee, then hopefully you'll understand how that impacts you as well.
And no, let me interject too as well. I really want, and especially given the fact that, listen, people, we understand that 80% of the city of Riviera Beach is Black folk. Let's be clear now. I understand Black people's reservation with giving information about their household. I understand Black people's reservation about believing science, because we know we talk about math. I understand that. But listen, when we recognize and understand that when we complete our census, that things like infrastructure, things like the money that goes to schools, all of these things have an impact on us. First of all, I want to be in a position, City of Riviera Beach, where whatever is due to us comes to us. We are not the kind of people that say, "Oh, you know what? We don't beg for handouts. We're not asking nobody for anything." What we want is to be able to say that when I get my check, and my check says FICA, Social Security, Medicaid, when they take this money out my check, that money goes to the federal government for their budget. And that money is supposed to come back to us in terms of programs, in terms of infrastructure, and in terms of education. We pay this money. When I get no, let me tell you what people say. You don't pay taxes, they take taxes. That means that you don't pay them, they take them. So all that money that goes to the federal government is supposed to come back to us. And if we make sure that our census is completed, then it is representative of the people who live in this city. So I cannot stress enough the fact that residents, people who are living here, people even on Singer Island, that who have this as their first primary residence, fill the census out. It is representative, the roads, the economic development, the stoplight, putting a speed bump in your neighborhood. All those things are contingent upon people in the federal government knowing that there are more than 20. If she said that we only did 52% out of 30,000 people, we only got $15,000, 15,000 people worth of money, which means that we got half the money we were supposed to get. Us being a small city cannot afford to do everything in the city. That is the reason why we pay taxes, and the federal government is supposed to make sure that our tax money comes back to us. And
Mhm.
they do that by one way, and that's through the census. So please, please make sure that this census is filled out. I'm a big proponent of it, because not only because of my history and your history, but because of the fact that we need the money here. Because I'm telling you, people, when this pandemic is moving along, and after this
Mhm.
pandemic, we're going to need to be able to make sure that we have people who have what they need. People are going to, I mean, they just said yesterday in the news that they're going to be 40 million people who are going to be freaking homeless for evictions and for not being able to pay rent. They're going to reduce the $600 a week for people to be able to pay, to be able to get from federal unemployment. This is happening. We need to be in a position that whatever the money that the government has, it comes back to us. Because number one, we pay for it. And number two, we want to make sure that the people who live in our community get the best help and the best support that they actually need. Okay, Miss Noel, I'm sorry.
No, thank you for chiming in. And that's what this really is. It's a discussion because I think it merits that because it's so important. And this is, and like I tell people, we can't wait another 10 years to get it right. And so whatever
No.
needs to be said, we have to say it now because we won't get that chance the moment the census.
And that is a point, Miss Noel. The point is that
Mhm.
guess what? This is every 10 years. So
Yep.
that means in 2030
Yeah.
is when we get the money? No, we need to get our money now, people. Do you know what is
Mhm.
going to happen to us after this pandemic? Do you know how it's going to look after this pandemic? Not only 40 million going to be going to be homeless or being evicted, but guess what? There are 40 million people who don't have a job. And if you think they don't live here, they do. It is a lot of people who I know, my neighbors. My neighbor has a daycare. They can't even, it is hard for them because guess what? They can't have 10 and 15 kids in their daycare anymore. It is difficult. They're trying to protect their own family. They're trying to protect, they're trying to protect the children. So businesses like that, home-based businesses, we are going to be able, we need to be able to ensure that the people who are living in our community can make a living, can be able to buy food. We have food distributions. We have things like that. People are very proud. You know how black people are. We're very proud. I don't want to be seen in nobody line trying to get no food. So we need to be able to make sure, and like Mr. Evans said, those things like helping small businesses to be able to stay afloat. Because if we think that this thing is going to go somewhere, this pandemic is going somewhere anytime soon, it ain't going nowhere. We're going to have to be able to be in a position that the people who live in this city, I don't care if you live on Singer Island, and I don't care if you live on S Avenue, to be able to be in a position to be able to take care of ourselves and to be able to move forward with the better city. But okay, Mr. Well, sometimes I think about it because we have to understand how this thing is going. Because guess what? People don't let people gaslight you. We are in the middle of a pandemic here. This is not normal. I mean, we try real hard. I'm telling you, people, we try real hard that this is normal and that we're trying to get through it. But this is not normal. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and guess what? At some point, it's going to be over. And how are we going to grapple with? How are we going to deal with the issues that are affecting our community? Not only just right now, but after this. So I really want you to pay attention to how you need to be able to fill out your census. And if you fill your census out, get other people to do it. Make sure that you are passionate, just like I am about it, because we have to understand that we're gonna need this money. And guess what? It is not nobody else's money. It is our money anyway. It's supposed to come back to the city. This is our money anyway. So guess what? It needs to come back to this city to be able to make sure that the people who are living here, the people who are trying to work here, are able to make a living to keep moving with their families. Go ahead, Miss Noel.
All right. And so I'll just wrap up the last activity that I think is going to be pretty important because you kind of touched on it because we understand there's going to be some concerns and misunderstandings that surrounds the census. And so, what myself and our Census Outreach Task Force is currently organizing is what we're going to call Dispel the Myths of the Census. And essentially, we want to do a virtual roundtable where we're going to have a census representative that's been working pretty closely with us, ensuring that we're on track in terms of the activities that we're doing. His name is Sandy Goodman, and some other individuals are going to reach out to participate in this roundtable. We're going to spread the word to the community so that you can, join us and engage, because we're going to answer those questions around those concerns that we are aware of, and maybe to also allow an opportunity for you to share what those concerns are and get your questions answered. Because again, there's just a lot of stigma, I think, that needs to be addressed for some individuals to just, jump over that barrier and get it done. So just look out for the communications on that. We'll make sure to maybe utilize the registration contact list that you have, Ms. Lanier, so we can push that information out when it's ready.
And then too, you know what, Miss Noel, as we're talking about this, because this is a conversation back and forth. This is not a council meeting where we have to. This is a town hall meeting. This is something that I want to be able to have conversation with the public. Doing a CRA meeting or doing a council meeting, I have to wait with Robert Rules of Order. I have to wait to be able to respond. But I want this to be a back and forth between me and the people who are here and the community. I want you to be able to feel comfortable enough to say, listen, Councilwoman Miss Shirley, listen, this is what's really going on here. I want us to be clear about this. And the thing about it is that what we're doing here today is that we're trying to make it easier for you to be able to have your concerns. And when we're talking about the census, we're talking about things like, for example, your age, your race, your sex. It's very simple questions, people. Fill it out. And now Noel has put up a quick poll. And the poll says basically, have you registered for the census? Y'all please vote right now.
Okay, I'm going to close the poll.
All right, there it is. All right, then. All right. So most of the people who are out listening to us have registered for the census. Excellent, people. Excellent. Now, the 70% that have registered for the census and have done the census, guess what your job is now? Your job is to get people who have not registered for this census, who have not completed this census. I mean, I'm telling you, when you talk to people on the phone, when you see people, when I went to Walmart, I don't go a lot of places often, people. I'm very careful about this virus. So when I do go out to Sam's or Costco or the Walmart, when I see people, I said, listen, have y'all done the census? I'm sure they probably say, well, hey, how you doing, Shirley? Because I'm sure they're probably saying, where does that come from? But listen, if you live in this city, I'm telling you, when I tell y'all, if y'all don't hear nothing else, this money is ours. This money, that's $670 million that Marcia Noel alluded to, that's our money. Anytime you don't think it is, look at your check and see where it says FICA and tell me where you think that goes. That money goes to the federal government, federal income tax. That means that the budget that the federal government has is our money. So how do they divvy up that money? They divvy it up by, guess what? Who all lives in your city? You say you got 35,000 people, but prove it. And the census proves it. They redraw boundaries and districts based on this information. You ever heard of the term gerrymandering? And you look at the city of Riviera Beach and you look at the map of Palm Beach County, you see how those lines are drawn all this kind of way. Guess what? People don't feel their senses out. They get a big portion of where the money goes. Because guess what? Where the money goes is where the representation is. So when they draw these boundaries, it is representation they're looking for. So if you don't fill your senses out, and it's only 15,000 in Riviera Beach, they say, because that's all you did in terms of the census, then that's we're gonna cut you out a little bit because you don't have that many people to be representative of you. So people, it is very important. And I say this and I say it again because you know why? We need that money. I'm just sorry. We need it. We need it.
It's as simple as that. So
Yeah.
what I'm going to do to kind of illustrate this a bit, and this is just going to take a minute, I'm going to share my screen and show you where our city's self-response currently is. So right now you should see my screen. Do you see it, everyone?
Right.
Okay, great. So to the left, you see the Riviera Beach. Oh, I think my computer's reloading. Okay, well, this is now, it actually sent me to the nationwide, but right now the national self-response is at 62.8%. If you actually narrow that down simply to our city, which I can do, and anyone actually can look at how we're doing, you simply have to go to 2020census.gov, go to the Get the Facts tab, go all the way down, and it should say response rate. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm able to show it to you since it's kind of blocked by the lower panel, but you get what I mean. Once you click that response rate subsection, it will take you here. You can then go far to the right. You see select state.
Yeah.
And you go ahead and select Florida.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, you're going to click city to narrow it down even further to Riviera Beach. Just give it a second, it's loading. And then you use the drop down under the cities section and you just go all the way down to Riviera Beach. It's by alphabetical order. Though I didn't skip it yet. So getting there.
The R's.
All right, yep. So Riviera Beach, and then it's gonna load again. And then now, here we are.
Come on.
So to the left, to the left, you're seeing the Florida self-response at 59.8. Riviera Beach specifically is at 49.7. Now you can then break it down even further to see how different sections of the city is doing by clicking track. And so once I click that, you'll see the different tracks that it creates for our city. Now, one thing I will say, and here you go, one thing I will say is, though you see 49.7 right now, just within a month since we've been implementing various activities, we've been able to move pretty quickly towards the 50%. It doesn't mean that's where we settle. We obviously want the numbers to go up faster.
We want 100%, Noel. We want 100%. We want everybody that lives in this city to be able, people, I'm telling y'all, if Noel and me say nothing else tonight, we need that money, people. We need it. And that's the only way we're going to be able to get it. Okay.
Right. So that's fine. And I want to kind of explain how to read this map. So basically it's color coded. The more blue it is, the better the response rate. The more orange it is, the lower the response rate. So when I look at District 3, though the tracks are kind of organized a bit differently than how our districts are set up, I can give you an idea as to perhaps what our District 3 is looking like.
Come on, District 3, people, all y'all living in Federal Guard, Harmony Heights, the Stony Brook, all y'all living off of 1st and 8th and 9th and 10th Streets over there, off of Australian, off of Barack Obama Highway. Y'all got to fill y'all census out. I'm telling y'all, people, we need this money.
Right. And so as you can tell in District 3, this is one of the portions of it that's not doing too well. And so maybe, in any efforts we do moving forward, we can certainly focus our strategies in those areas in particular that are orange. But I will say, a month ago, this section here, Ms. Lanier, was orange and it moved blue recently. So that's actually a good thing. But again, like I said, we want to start seeing those numbers increase a lot faster. One interesting point you'll notice when you hover over each tract is it'll give you some background information. What you see here, for instance, for tract 10.02, which is a portion of District 3, you're going to see that the total response for that section is 51.7. 45.4% of that is by internet. Back in 2010, there was an online method to do the census, basically paper. And so what that means is people are going online and they're doing it because why? It's efficient, right? I can do it on my phone, I can do it on my tablet, I can do it on my computer.
You can do it on your phone too. Yeah, you can do it on your phone.
Right. And you simply go to 2020census.gov and click respond, and that's it. And so you can do that for each track to get an idea as to how they're doing. If we want to look at the lower response region, you're looking at it's at 46 point, and unfortunately, I don't think I'm, because it kind of blocks the end. But anyway, you can go on here and see for yourself. It's the lower response area. But,
come on, people. We need to put the census to. We need to be. I mean, how long do you think it actually takes though to do it, Noel?
To do what specifically?
To actually go in and do the census. How long?
Right. So it's very quick. So I'm actually going to show you on the website what it looks like, the questions in particular for anyone who's wondering. So if you go to how to respond, you can go to this second subsection, which says questions asked on the form. There's only 12 questions, and it can take anywhere between one to 10 minutes, depending on how many people you're counting for your household. So if you just want to breeze through this, you can see question 1, there it is. Right? It says how many people were living or staying in your house or apartment or mobile home on April 1st, 2020. And then you just go through each question to see what it's going to ask you before you even do it. So you can have the, the assurance that the information is being
only 12 questions, people. Come on now. All I keep saying is that, hey, people, we need this money. We need this money. And guess what? Not only do we need this money, we need to be represented in Tallahassee, represented in Washington. And this is how they determine. Do you know that the state of California has 2 senators? You know why? You know why? It's because those, because guess what? In California, because they counted the people who were there, they say, y'all get 2 senators. You got a place like North Dakota that got 1, and it's like 10 times less the square footage as California. But guess what? You have to be able to know where you are in terms of the census. That determines a lot. It really, and guess what? When people say census, they be like, okay, all right, fine. I fill it out. And I remember a long time ago, not even a long time ago, back in the 1990 census, I worked for the U.S. Census, and it means that when the census gets close to closing, they send out what they call field workers. We go out to the field, go out to places, say a street is off of off a Military Trail in a certain part of the Riviera Beach, and they say, listen, go out there because these are the people who have not filled their census out, and we got to go and knock on the door. And people have said, well, what do you want? I'm like, did you fill your census out? I help you fill it out. And most people are like, oh yeah, I was gonna get around to it. So it really works. But the thing about it is that I'm not even sure if the census is going to be going around house to house anymore. They are?
They are. So I can explain that a little bit just so you know what's going on. So I'm the main contact individual for our city with regards to the census. The census has reached out, and I've worked with them to coordinate a training location for anyone who's applied to be a census taker. They're going to prioritize census takers for our community, our residents that applied for the job. We did put out an advertisement that they are hiring for census takers, and they will be doing local training starting August. Literally next week, they're going to be at the Lindsay Davis Center.
So how much money they make? How much money they make, Noel, if they go out?
Yeah, so they're paying $17.50 an hour for our area.
Okay.
Flexible scheduling. They're going to train you, and they understand we're in a pandemic, so there's some safety measures they're going to incorporate in the that the individual can stay safe.
Yeah, so not only if you don't want to fill it out, somebody come by your house and somebody to try and help you, they're gonna pay those people $17.50 an hour. That's a job right there, people. That is a job. So not only is we gonna get a job doing this, then we'll be able to help the people who are in our neighborhoods, in our community, to be able to fill this out. And you can't get no that.
Right. Our community is going to help our community to get it done.
Can you find on there where they can go apply for a job, Noel?
Yeah. So let me, my screen is still being shared. So, okay, great. So if you want to apply for the job, you simply have to type in, and it's 2020census.gov/jobs. And as it loads, here you go. So it's not too late to apply for a temporary part-time position for the 2020 census. As you go further down, oh, there it is actually. The apply now button is to the far right where my mouse is. You see that? Once you click that, I think it'll send you straight to the form. And here you go. First time applicant, register here. If you're a returning applicant, you log in. So it's as simple as that.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm. And I did want to provide some background in terms of how other cities are also doing with the census. I do have some numbers for you. So based off of the July 8th response rate for neighboring cities in Palm Beach County, Royal Palm Beach is leading the way at 70.4%. Wellington comes second at 67.4%. And again, don't forget, this is as of July 8th. Obviously, those numbers could have changed since. You have Palm Beach Gardens at 65.4, and then North Palm Beach at 63.4. Those four in our county of several other cities are at the top four at this time. And so we're still under 50%, being where we are right now in the phase of this census. And so it's so important for us to keep in mind that, hey, you know, other cities whose demographics are even a bit different as it comes to socioeconomic status are doing really, really well. And I think we have to certainly take advantage, because we need to make sure our dollars come back here. Every city deserves every dollar that they're working hard to get, but we're included in that as well. And so that's something to just keep in mind. Other cities are doing better, and we need to do better as well. So, and that's all that I have for my presentation, unless you have any questions for me.
Anybody who's watching this, if you have any questions, you can kind of either send a chat in, or you know, you can call in and let us know. And Noelle, I wanted to say that I didn't mean to keep interrupting you, but you know, when I think about how important the census is, and when I think about, you know, the way that, you know, it's a simple way to be able to be counted and to be able to have people or the federal government to recognize who we are. So I think that I was interrupting because I was just so passionate about the fact that, you know, this really is something that you can do, that you don't have to show up anywhere. You don't have to, you know, you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is be counted and make sure that the money that is supposed to come to us comes to us.
Correct.
Yep. Do we have any questions? Chanel, I'm not sure.
I just sent two to Marsha. One was for those residents living in the area. As you know, there are people who are wanted felons, persons living with their parents, girlfriends, etc. How do you know this information will not be shared or given to the wrong person?
I'm glad that they asked that question. So what the census has provided on their website is the integrity of the information, making sure that that information is utilized properly for the census. And matter of fact, I'm actually going to pull it out because I want to make sure that I'm accurate in how I kind of explain this. And again, you can go on the website, and again, I'll kind of share my screen because I want you to be able to go online and look this up yourself, so you can also share it with your neighbors who may have the same concerns. So on the website, you see where it says privacy and security. So basically, if you click the first subsection, which is how the Census Bureau protects your data, it'll talk about how that information is going to be protected and be kept strictly confidential and for the purposes of the census. So really, if you have a criminal background or anything like that, they're saying they're only using this to count you as a person. And so I would refer to anyone who has any questions to either watch this video or go through the details that they provide on their webpage so that you can get that assurance.
And what that means is that it cannot be used against you in court.
Right.
So just take that to mean that you know what, they can't whip this out and say, you know what, you already know what's going on. So they cannot use it against you.
And it states that right there, as she said in this paragraph, the law ensures that your private data is protected and that your answers cannot be used against you by any government agency or court, violating Title 13, which is a federal crime punishable by prison time and or a fine up to $250,000.
So no DA, no prosecutor, nobody can use that against you.
Correct.
Very good. Okay, very good. Thank you so much, Noel. And I know that I kind of got off on a tangent with it, but I get very excited about the census. And the reason why is because I told you when I find people, that my ancestors in these censuses, and I know that money comes from behind this, that this is something that I'm really passionate about. And of course, y'all know me, I'm passionate about a lot of stuff, but I really want us to get this right in 2020. When I found my great 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 grandmother in 1890, then that really kind of resonated with me in terms of this really actually works. So if nothing else, you want to be able to leave some type of mark that somebody can find you. So I can appreciate it, and thank you so much, Noel. And we're gonna move on to our next
Well,
subject.
we have
And
one last question. Oh, she's gone.
okay,
The due date
No,
for
I'm
the
here.
census.
I'm here.
she said
Okay.
Just a text message here. The due date to respond to the 2020 census. If you can just quickly tell us what that is.
Yeah, the census closes, I believe, October 31st. And that's
Thank you.
because of the pandemic. Initially, it wasn't that. They extended it.
okay. Actually, so it's October 31st. But let's get our stuff in early, people.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Noel.
All right. You're welcome.
Now we're going to have some conversation and have some introductions for a program that I've been very passionate. Of course, y'all know I'm passionate about, everything that's best for the city of Riviera Beach. If it's best for this city, then I'm very passionate about it. And this next program, which is called Hope Dealers, you guys may have saw this on the last council meeting where we talked about the Hope Dealers, where we talked about the program that they have in the city of West Palm Beach, and how we want to be able to integrate them into our neighborhoods and some of the work that they're doing in other cities to be able to do. So I'll let Mr. Moetti, who's on the board of this organization, give you some background about it.
All right. Good evening, everyone. And like Councilwoman Shirley Lanier said, like she has been a very great advocate for this program in the city of Riviera Beach. And I want to give a quick background into my involvement and what we're actually trying to do. So I've known Ricky Aiken, who is the CEO and founder of this company, for a while. I've heard of the work that he was doing in West Palm Beach, but I wasn't really involved until this year. And a lot of that happened because of some personal things that happen. Sometimes it takes personal things to occur that really allow you to see, like, how important this organization is. I had a good friend and a tenant of mine in the city who was gunned down in his room in this city. He was murdered, and it was a big shock because I know that my friend Arish Gardner, who was killed, he was doing very good things in the city. Anytime somebody asked me like, hey, like, do you know of a job? I could always call Arish, and he knew he was. If there was a job at Home Depot or Dollar General, he was out there trying to find anybody with no expectation of anything in return. He was out there trying to help young men find jobs, and he would advocate for them. So, to have somebody like that and to lose that type of energy in this community, it hit me hard. And I realized that, I didn't know much about, I knew that there was a lot of gun violence in the community, but I didn't really know what was going on behind the scenes. So, I try to get myself involved and understand, from the political side, from the police side, and I understand, I learned a lot through the process, some of the challenges that, the police department deals with. And, it's good to understand that. But I also wanted to understand, hey, what's going on, in the private sector or with nonprofits, what are they actually doing to address these issues? And, so I had even more deeper conversation with Ricky Aiken and really seeing that what he brought to West Palm Beach is something that we have not seen. Like, I haven't seen anything like this. Basically, he's brought a startup culture to the nonprofit sector where he grew up on Tamarind. He saw a lot of gun violence, and he's from that community. And he says, look, I know these guys. I know the guys who are most likely to commit these gun violence, and we're going to develop a program that's going to directly target them. And we're going after the worst of the worst that nobody wants to deal with. I'm going after these guys, and the statistics speak for themselves. I mean, when you look at in West Palm Beach, they've had the fewest homicides this year in a decade. Okay, in West Palm Beach, they also had the most substantial drop in homicides in all of Palm Beach County. They're the largest city in all of Palm Beach County, and that's where his program is centered. He was focused exactly where the gun violence is, and I know he doesn't get. I'm sorry.
That's something to say. That's a lot. I mean, that's very profound in terms of the lowest in 10 years.
The lowest in 10 years. You can look it up on the Palm Beach Coast. They just did an article where it was the fewest homicides in a decade in West Palm Beach. And there's another article that said it was 67% drop. It was the biggest drop in all of Palm Beach County. And the only program, okay, that city has that no other city has, this program. Again, I know you had to tell to the face. You know what? I had to apologize because a lot of times people are doing things, and I know that you're doing something, but I didn't really understand the magnitude of what you're doing. Okay, and but it hits you in the face. Like, this is really innovative. Like, you're bringing stuff to the table that nobody. Everybody talking about fresh ideas. Okay, we all talk, we need new ideas. You are bringing new ideas to the table, and sometimes, like, we get so caught up in what we're doing that we ignore, or I want to say ignore, we don't really spend a lot of time recognizing what people are actually doing today. And so, again, and I want to give credit to your office again, because even though it took me a while to understand, and like, hey, we really need this, like the fact that I was able to come to your office, and I know it's a smaller organization. They've been around for about 4 or 5 years, but they have a track record. But for you guys to really get on board and say, hey, you know what, we have an issue of gun violence, and why don't we find some resources to at least give this group a platform. And so long story short, what we're basically doing, and this is what we want to do in Riviera Beach, is that we want to identify the kids in this area between, because really most of the gun violence between the age of 15 and 24, and we're trying to identify the youth in this demographic who are most likely to commit gun violence. So either they committed a homicide, or they are walking around with a gun about to commit a homicide. Now, we know the traditional approach: if somebody commits a murder, they need to go to jail, okay? And we're not opposed to that, but here's the reality of the situation, and I believe we need to be real about the situation. 70% of these murders are not solved in this city, okay? 70%. So we're only getting about 30% of these. And if we catch them, they're not getting prosecuted. If they get in the system, they're getting out. So we're really, there's most of the, I would say, if there's a murder in the city, and this is not, I'm not saying this just, symptomatic of our city. This happens.
Boy, I don't want to stop you right here. Somebody just texted me and said, who is that? So they want to know who you are. Could you give some people who are listening to us and who are looking, give them some background about who you are, Moetta, because somebody just texted me like, who is that? So tell us about yourself. Tell us about your background, your educational background, so that people will understand who you are, please.
Okay. All right. So my name is Moetti Nubi. I probably should start off with this. I'm sorry. All right. So my name is Moetti Nubi. I am I would say a 10 to 11-year resident of the city of Riviera Beach. I grew up in Pensacola, Florida. I actually grew up in Florida my entire life. I grew up in Pensacola, Florida. I went to school at Florida State. I have a master's and PhD in statistics with a concentration in finance. I've been working at NextEra Energy as an energy trader for really at that company for about 10 years. I've been trading for about 8 years. And also, I'm a landlord in the city, so I purchase property in the city. I fix it out, and I try to rent, to homes. Like particularly when I came down here, when I was in graduate school, I had an economics professor, a black guy who was really talented economic professor, and what he challenged us to do, he said, you know what, it's important that is you're going to be in a business sector, especially as a black person, you need to make sure that you are solving problems in your community. It's not, you're not just there to make money. You're there to figure out how do you like benefit yourself, but also your community. And, and we spent a lot of time in that department talking about these issues, and they challenge you to really think about how you can center your business in a way that actually helps people. So when I came down here, I understood a little bit about the landlord business because that's when I grew up. My father was also in the landlord business in Pensacola. So I wanted to find a housing solution for young black men, particularly because they're a group that they don't really get government assistance for housing, and a lot of them have issues qualifying for housing for either a bankruptcy issue, maybe a prior felony, or I've had situations where somebody, they qualify for a job or they qualify for a place to stay on one of these like online apps, but then when the person sees they're black, they're like, oh, never mind. so it could be as simple as that. And so when I came out, I said, if I'm going to get into housing, I understand what it's like to be a black man in this country. Let me try to see if I can find some type of solution for housing for this group. And again, it's not exclusive to this group because I have white guys staying in my housing too. I have Hispanic guys. It's not an exclusive thing. It's just that I wanted to make sure, like, hey, if you are a black man and you have something, I don't want you to feel like you can't have a place to stay. So, I started that again. There was a lot of trial and error with this model. I'm just going to be honest with you because
and you're right. And you're right, Moetti. I just wanted to say, and people, how I know Moetti is because I met him a long time ago, and the brother has a PhD in statistics, and I was impressed with that already. And the fact that when you start looking at the numbers and you start looking at the fact that 60% of all homicides in the country are unsolved, we're at 70%. So what is it can we do? What is it can we do that, I've talked to the police chief, and the police chief has said, you know what, some of these young brothers, they shooting up every time you look around. And I live in Federal Garden, so I hear shots all the time. So what is it can we do to be able to at least say we're going to try and address this issue? So when I met Moetti, he had these ideas. He had, he knew about the hope dealers. He worked with Chanel, who's my partner. He worked with these people to be able to say, you know what, this is something we can do. We have to be able to do something because, we can't just throw people away. We make mistakes, we mess up, we all fall short, all of that. But how do we at least say we can do this to be able to address this issue? And so that's the reason why I had Moetti on and Ricky on to be able to explain about what hope dealers are and to be able to tell us that guess what? And sometimes we gotta think outside the box.
Exactly, and I think that one thing that you mentioned is that we need to figure out like who are these groups of people who are committing murder, and so we'll actually have strategy sessions where we're trying to identify these groups. So for instance, like I would say we actually have categories as you study these issues. You have the group of guys who they will commit a murder just for respect, purely respect. They're bullied by their peers in school. If somebody says, "Oh, you're too big," or you're not hard enough, and purely just because they want to be respected by their peers, they will kill somebody. And that is how serious respect is, especially at that younger age where as you get older, the respect means different things where you're not, you don't have to commit murder to get respect. But at that young age where there's a lot of insecurities and stuff like that, that is as simple as it can be sometimes. And, and we're not, if we're not honest about these things and we're having just blunt conversations, sometimes the simplest solutions get ignored. And so we have, and so a lot of the time it could be like, like reaching out to these guys and look, I understand you might be feeling like, nobody cares about you, that like, that this world is saying you're this and that, and everybody, and you might look like, like you can't do anything, but like, hey, you know what? We're going to let you know you're valuable, that there's a place for you in this world. And as you come to this program, like, we're going to show you how to interact with the right people. And that right there will solve a murder. That right there alone will actually reduce your homicide rate. And that's just one group. So we want to do that to, we want to reach that group. Now you have other groups where like, let's say they actually grew up in a household where that's just what people do, where, they were taught that, hey, like this is what we do in a family, we're shooters. That's just what it is. And and you had that model where, and Ricky had an interesting story about that because he actually was really good friends with a guy who kind of got stuck in that lifestyle. When he said, honestly, I know this guy, like, he was a really, he always looked out for me, but he felt like he had to live up to the expectations that he was just brought into a system that, and there was no way out. And so like people have stories, no matter how terrible the things they do are, they still have a story. And it's not about excusing the story, but the fact is that if we can reach out to these guys and say, look, you know what? It's not like, because again, we're not the police, so we're not in the business of like catching you. Okay, we're in the business of trying to educate you to stop doing what you're doing.
No, what, but that needs to be clear. We're not the police here now.
Yeah, exactly.
All we're
We
trying
are
to
not the police.
for these young brothers,
Yes.
anybody who's found themselves in a position where whatever it is that's going on with them, we are not the police. We are not trying to say we're gonna turn you into the police. What we want to do is that we want to address these issues that these young brothers are facing.
We have a couple of questions on deck.
What's that now?
We have a couple of questions. I sent
Okay.
them to you already. I don't know if you saw them come across your screen, but I can tell them to you if you don't see them.
Okay, yes.
How can we increase patrolling in our neighborhoods?
That is not something that I have the expertise to answer. But I will tell you that what I would like to see from a program like this is that if there is a shooting in our city, or let's say there is a homicide, I would like to see the whole dealer program be to the point where not only do you get a police presence where they come and do their investigation, but you also have a private organization that comes out and they talk to the family like, hey, like, what can we do to help? Like, if you know anybody who like, if you think somebody is trying to retaliate because of what happened, like, okay, look, before they even think about that, just come talk to us. And so, and so we want to be like, we want to be the group that like, hey, let's stop a retaliation from happening. Come talk to us, and maybe we can like reduce some of the back and forth. Because a lot of these murders are really just retaliations that have been happening. They just go back and forth, back and forth. And so, so for instance, now that would probably be a question for Chief Osgood. Again, I've had conversations with him. He seemed like he's very proactive about, when it comes to like, if there's a call, as far as you want police patrol, then he's definitely the person to reach out on that.
And he's right, and Moetti is right in a sense that when a shooting occurs, you have to call the police. That's it. The police has to come. But what we're trying to understand is that what is it that we as private citizens, we as council people can do for families and for people who feel like They need to retaliate. They need to be able to go back and say, you know what, Negro, you done shot my family, I'm gonna shoot you too. That kind of thing. And we understand how this goes. Let's be clear, people. We understand how it goes here in our neighborhoods. Somebody gets shot, somebody feel a type of way, somebody gonna retaliate. It's just killing after killing. And what we need to do with these programs is put things in place so that becomes not an option for them. That becomes that's not an option for them to do. You can't just go and just kill somebody because somebody did something. What is another option to that? Because guess what? We have not provided any options for that. Somebody come and mess with my family. Of course, just me. I feel a type of way. What am I gonna do?
Mhm.
So, what are the options for people who are in this position, which says that, you know what? What is another option I can do to be able to get this up off of me? Type of thing. So,
Um, there was another question about the hope dealers as far as what unique, some of the unique strategies they use in order to have help brought down that crime rate. What are some of the things that they have done to really draw the guys in? People are trying to get a clearer understanding of some of those activities that hope dealers utilizes.
Okay. And again, I'm going to give another caveat here that I recently just became more actively involved in the organization, so I can speak on that from a little bit. But as far as like, and from talking to Ricky, well, she would do a lot better job explaining everything they did. But I know from getting a group of young black men to show up to like an education session on their own voluntarily, okay, at least twice a week, what they were doing during the summer. Took a lot of effort. And a lot of it was, they had to incentivize them with gift cards sometimes. They had to let them ride around, pick these guys up, and like, you have to do everything you can just to, because a lot of times the first thing you have to do is just you cannot reach out to somebody until they know you actually care. And and when you have people growing up in an environment where like nobody really cares about them, they don't genuinely care, there's a lot of distrust. And so the first thing you have to do is really build like a trust where like, hey, well, I'm still, I'm not going to show up today and then be gone tomorrow. I'm showing up every single day, and you're going to see a commitment from me to your life that like you've never seen from anybody else before. And so that was the first step that that he was able to do in West Palm Beach, is just one, show the commitment to these group of guys. Sometimes you have to incentivize them with just gift cards to show up to the session, and then and so you build a relationship. So now I kind of came in at the second stage of that, where he's building a leadership core now, where he's built a group of 5 or 6 young men who he wants to train these guys to like, hey, now you guys are going to reach out. If you see people in your community that are causing issues, you can like refer them to this program. And where I came into the program is that, I have a teaching background as well. I used to teach for 4 years at Florida State. I grew up with, I actually have a long legacy of teachers in my lineage. And what I was challenging Ricky on is that, I could really help on creating a curriculum that is kind of crash course for these guys on just life skills that they could use. They were, and also something they would find interesting. So, it's kind of like again, I look at it like a startup culture where, we're not afraid to take risk in the classroom. And, and that's something that, especially for this particular group, you need to be able to take some risks, to challenge some assumptions, to, speak on the fly. I can't go into this classroom, and I've been teaching them like the last few weeks, but I can't go in there with a lesson plan. I can have an idea of what I'm going to talk about that day. Like, let's say I want to, because I think one lesson I did on just like teaching them about trading, which is like what I actually do for a living. But, I have to make sure that whatever I'm talking about is they can understand how that applies into the day-to-day things that they see in their lives. Because if I start out with a lesson plan, I'm going to lose people.
Yeah, and you
So,
know what? And to speak to Moetti's point is this: we have to look at community policing. We have to look at the fact that, when we talk about more patrolling, when we talk about more people or more police in our neighborhoods, we're not talking about an occupation. We're talking about bringing police into our neighborhoods to be able to interact with community services, to be able to interact with things that are in the best interest of the residents who are here. Because you know what? When we look at how crime is, and the saying is, or how we look at crime is that it's all black folks, and it's all this thing about. But guess what? We want to call the police too. We want to be able to be in a position where it's not about, oh, I'm going to snitch on somebody or whatever. We want to be able to call the police as well. So when we invite the police into our neighborhoods, we're looking at community policing. We're looking at engaging the police into other alternatives. If somebody kills somebody, of course, what our job is, it's time for you to go in front of a court of law to be arrested, and you go through that process. But we want to prevent killings. We want to prevent shootings in our neighborhood. And so to do that, we invite the police in to be a part of this community policing, to be a part of a program that says, you know what, there are other alternatives to just waiting on, when somebody's getting harassed. Give you a prime example. When somebody's getting harassed and somebody is being, they're being followed, the police say, listen, I can't do anything about that until something actually happens to you. So you're
mhm.
in a position where we know that it's stuff going on in our neighborhoods. We know it's here, and it's just a matter of time before something happens. What we want the police to do is come in and work with programs like Hope Dealers, to work with the community to be able to prevent these things from happening. So we are not anti-police. All we are is that we understand that the police is there to protect and to serve, and that they're here to be able to prevent crime, not just come in with CSI representatives, not to come in and get, and scoop up the bullets, and not to come in and go to somebody's house and tell them that, something happened to your son. That is not all we want the police to do for us. We want them to come in and be able to interact with us to prevent these things from happening. And I'm going to be clear now, it is not anti-police, because we do need the police. What we want is the police to engage us in other forms of ways to be able to prevent crime from actually happening. And I think that this program does that.
If I can just add a
If
couple of
anything,
things.
oh,
Hold
I'm
on one
sorry.
second,
Okay.
Moetti. I'm just trying to answer some of the questions that are coming through. The programs that Hope Dealers carries, Hope Dealer Mentoring, they have anti-violence workshops. They have definitely a lot of community engagement. If you go to their Facebook page, Ricky's very active on Facebook. He has a lot of lives showing the different things that they have done in the West Palm Beach community that we are excited to bring to the Riviera Beach community. One of the unique aspects I feel is the fact that Ricky follows his guys to court. If they find themselves in some kind of legal trouble, he will follow them to court. He goes with them and advocates to the judge on their behalf. But that's just one of many special things that he does, and it really creates trust between him and his guys. Hopefully, he will be able to come on a little later. He had a meeting that ran over, but it is a very strong program. It already has a platform, a foundation, and we're excited to bring that program here. Maybe some of the things are not new as far as other cities that he brings to the table, but we haven't really seen them done in Riviera Beach. So we're very excited. There's a lot of questions here about what is the ratio of patrolmen to each neighborhood or zone. I know that's probably not a question we can answer though, Councilwoman. So maybe we need to.
Yeah, guess what? My thing is that this is the first town hall meeting, and there are so many issues
that need to be addressed in our neighborhoods is that, I want to have a town hall meeting just for police and public safety. That's it. Because guess what? Crime in Riviera Beach is no joke. It happens. We cannot ignore it. It's our relatives, it's the people who we know down the street. It happens in our neighborhoods. So the thing about it is that we understand that the police is going to be there after the shootings. I live on 13th Street, Federal Garden. When I tell y'all, I hear shots and I hear police flying down my street, and I see it happening. So that means to me that it's something else that could be done with this. That we need to be able to, cut this off at the path. To be able to say, you know what, we know that there is crime in our neighborhoods. We know that people ain't got no jobs. We know, and we're not gonna blame it on that. We're saying that there are issues that is just like in white neighborhoods. Crime happens. It ain't just in black neighborhoods. Crime happens. Whether somebody breaking your car, somebody breaking your house, somebody rob you, it happens in any neighborhood, regardless of your race or regardless of your ethnicity or whatever that is. But in our neighborhood, we're looking to try and figure out how is it that we can be able to either counteract some of this or be able to provide alternatives to this. Because it's just like getting up in the morning and saying that whatever it is, it's just a part of life. But we want to know that in our neighborhood, Riviera Beach is the 35,000 residents, and they mostly all black, and them Negroes, they just be shooting and killing each other. That's just how it is. No, that is not how it is. There are people in our neighborhoods. There are people who, just like me, who believe that that's not who we are. We don't
I
mind.
have a question about funding for the Hope Dealers. How do they get funded? Are they looking for funding?
Yes, I brought the Hope Dealers to the city council to be able to get a buy-in from all my city council members to be able to fund them because we're looking for alternatives to crime in our neighborhood. And guess what, people? Crime affects all of us. Whether you are on Singer Island, whether you on S Avenue, whether you in Federal Garden, or whether you off of Barack Obama Highway in Riviera Beach. Crime affects all of us. And all of us want to keep our property, our persons safe. So what is it that we can do to be able to try and counteract some of this? So yes, I did bring this to the city council, and I did bring it to my colleagues, and I'm proud to say my colleagues bought into this. My colleagues said yes, this is something that we need in our city. So we're going to move forward with it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
and also add on to that, that they have I guess before they came to the city, they're mainly funded by like private donors, and they have a pretty. I actually, I had invited Ricky to my company to speak, and we actually have quite a few people on the trade floor who have signed up to be like weekly or bi-weekly donors to this organization. So they basically take it right out of our paychecks. So and so we've been trying to reach out to even just private companies because the thing is this is something that everybody can have a buy-in. There are businesses, like you said, people on Singer Island understand this. There are Fortune 500 companies that understand it. They're funding this. And and again, like I got to give credit to again the Shirley's office because again, like a lot of times it's very difficult to take a chance on innovative, different ideas. Nobody wants to take a risk on a new idea because you don't know what's going to happen. And
Yeah,
so to be able to,
you're right. And the thing about it already is this. The thing about it is this. You being a resident of the city for a while, me being a resident of the city all my life, I know this city. I know, especially this is me just me talking. I know this city. I've been here all my life. I understand how it goes. I understand I'm not trying to tell on nobody about whatever's going on. But guess what? I also know that my property and my person and my family, I have to keep them safe. And people say all the time, well, what is the chief of police doing to keep things safe? And I must say that the chief of police is doing the best that he can. He's only been here about 6 months. He's doing the best that he can to be able to learn this city. Understand me when I tell you to learn this city. When you're not from here, when you don't, when you're not born and raised here, when you, even though the people who come here and live here, you've been here 10, 20 years, and that's a good thing. But when you're born and raised in this city, you know the little nuances of how this city
Mm-hmm.
runs. And you understand that when you start trying to say that, you know what, we're going to protect our property, we're going to protect our persons, we're going to make sure that the police is involved with us, then, people might say, oh, you might try to be a snitch or whatever the case may be. But we understand that, guess what? This is a long term deal here. We playing the long game here.
Yes.
We know that nothing happens overnight, and that nothing happens like, oh, you know what? We're gonna get a new chief of police, and it's gonna be clean up crime. People, listen, we understand this. We understand that nothing happens overnight. We've got to play the long game here, and we have to put programs in place to be able to meet this long game. That, in 5, 10 years, that guess what, we can say, you know what? Guess what? This is what happened. People say, you know what? I need, and my father calls it, y'all just a little microwave society. Y'all want things to happen just like this here, just like this. But we have to put programming in place. We have to put things and people in place to be able to say, you know what? We got this problem, and it hasn't been solved in 30 years. How do we look at this and say, let's walk this down? Let's be able to say, you know what? We looking at hope dealers. We looking at the next ones coming up. We looking at these programs to be able to say, you know what? Let's put things in place so that we can address these issues. And guess what? We're not going to please everybody. And as the old folks say, we can't please everybody. But what we can do is, especially in my office, and given the votes that I have for my council seat, is to figure out some type of way to be able to say we have to address this problem, because guess what? The police chief can't do it by himself. I can't do it by myself. Moetti can't do it by himself. It has to be a collective community approach to this issue, regardless of what it is. It could be crime, it could be economic development, it could be trying to remodel and reimagine the city of Riviera Beach. It takes all of us to do this. You can't put it on one person. So as we move forward,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know what? And it's almost 7:30 people, and I said
Oh,
at 8
okay.
o'clock, and I want to get to my next people. And I want and Roy, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I know Ricky has something else going on, but I have other things that I want to introduce, because I want to be able to let the public know that these are things that we've been working on. And everything, as old black people and old people, period, always say, don't think that you're here by yourself. You have to have people to work with you to be able to make things happen. You're not here by yourself. You can't be a man. What? No man is an island. You have to involve everybody in this. I can't do it by myself. You can't do it by yourself. The police chief, the city manager cannot do it by themselves. We all have to buy into making sure that our communities are safe, that we all have a say so in how we progress economically, and that guess what? Our persons, where we live, how we live, is safe. That's all we have. And we have to work together to ensure that. And I'm going to say again, whether you're on Singer Island or whether you're on S Avenue or whether you're on 13th Street, we all have to work together here. Because guess what? We're going to sink or we're going to swim together. So that's how it goes. Now, Chanel, could you bring on our next people that are here so that we can. Moetti, thank you so much, dear.
All
Okay,
they
no
should have to
problem.
do is turn their cameras on.
All right, so who we got next, Chanel?
We have our home rehabilitation and beautifying District 3 program.
Oh, is that? Oh, okay, there we go, Mr. Terry. All right, Miss Anita. All right,
All
so
right.
okay, this is another program, guys. And there's Mr. Ori. Oh my goodness. This is the program. Listen, people, this is the program. It's a part of the reentry program with Ori Bullard. This is the program that we call them returning citizens, people who've been in jail, people who've been in prison. When they come out, They need to be able to get themselves together to be able to work and to be able to take care of themselves and to work for a living. We got Terry here who works with a program that helps those people who are returning citizens, we call them. You know, y'all see it, they just got a jail, they just got a prison, but guess what? They're returning citizens, and we're trying to help them to be able to take care of themselves, and guess what? To be their own people. And we have Miss Annetta Jenkins, and Miss Annetta Jenkins is with the CRA part of the city, and she is the one who has this brainchild who has brought all these programs together with Terry, with Ori, the reentry program, with her program called Reclaim. Miss Annetta Jenkins is finding properties in the city that are, you know, downtrodden, and she's taking these properties and she's having Terry and the men who work with Ori, these returning citizens, to fix up these properties to make them available for first-time home buyers. Now you can't get no better than that, people. You can't get no better than that. It's a beautiful thing. So I'm gonna let Miss Annetta, start talking about the program, and Miss Annetta, give us some background on how you done just make this whole thing just happen.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you, Commissioner Lanier and Chanel, for making this great town hall happen. I am so excited, and I always thought I was the most passionate person for community development, but I found somebody who's a bigger, passionate cheerleader. And I told Commissioner Lanier a few weeks ago that I was going to get her a set of pom poms because she definitely cheers us on, and she's a big supporter. So we appreciate it so, so much. I am so hopeful about what is happening in our neighborhoods. I live here, and I've lived here for a long time. I wasn't born here, but I've lived here for a long time. And I know that Riviera Beach just has the best people. We have the best opportunity, and we just have to capture it all together. We have so many resources in our community. I've been with the CRA for a number of years, and I also represent the CDC. So if you hear CRA or CDC, it's all about where the resources come from. Just focus on that. And we are very, very committed to beautifying and uh, just reviving our communities. And, we have some housing programs and we do things in a variety of ways. We fix up the exterior of homes within the CRA. But we were challenged with how could we do more? How could we make the program more sustainable? How could we bring in other partners? How could we take it to scale, so to speak? So the CRA put some money on the table. The CDC put some money on the table. And we connected with Mr. Ori Bullard. Our previous city manager brought us to the table and said, Anita, you and Ori sit down. I know you all could figure out some way to work. And Ori came to my office one day. We started talking. We got so excited. We sketched out this partnership right there, right then. And we've been moving ever since. So the reclaim program is basically taking back our neighborhoods. We know that we have a lot of rental property, we have a lot of vacant lots, we have our elders who need roofs, they need landscaping, they need painting, because I get 2 and 3 calls every day for help from all over the city. We know where the grant dollars are when they're available, but we also know how to roll up our sleeves and get to work. So I'm going to let Ori and Terry talk about what they do. But my primary job is to find the money, find the properties, serve as an overall project manager to make sure that we're meeting all the regulations, that we're adhering to our contracts. If you didn't know, community, we have the Riviera Beach First Time Homebuyers Club. So we want to increase the rate of homeownership. So perhaps, Commissioner, you'll have me on another time so I could talk about the path to homeownership. We have people who are waiting for these beautiful homes. Now, we don't have to tear down everything and start new, although we can do new construction. We have a lot of housing stock that we could start with right now. We have people who have homes that we could start with right now. So bringing together the dollars from the CRA, and the dollars from the CDC, bringing together volunteer labor a lot of times, working with the reentry program and urban farmers, we think we have created magic here in this city. I told Ori and Terry, and I told the commissioner that I always start on projects with the mindset that it will be a quality project. I know that it will be award winning. If you come visit me at the office, you'll see our trophy case with all sorts of awards. This is an award winning program. And I talk, if you hear me on Brother Carl's program, if you hear me at city council meetings, I always say Riviera Beach is the best waterfront city to live, work, and play. This is our city, and we are going to be passionate about it. We're going to bring the best thinking that we have, and we're going to bring all the resources that we can to the table. So, what does that look like, folks? Well, over the last year, between these partners, we have been able to sod and paint about 12 homes of seniors and people with disabilities, et cetera, who needed help, who may have gotten cold challenges. We've done that, and it has not cost that family a penny. We've also done some minor rehab work for several apartments that were available for low income families, low wealth families. But our most exciting opportunity is something that is so fantastic. It's a house that was rented out in our community in District 3. And the CDC bought this house. And we were just struggling to try to find the right team to rehab it. So when I met Ori, I said, I have a house that we could bring to the table. And we have a little bit of money. Let's see what we could do. So I'm going to stop and let Ori and Terry talk about, and I see Terry sitting on the porch with a grin on his face. So
Man, I love hey, Terry.
he can't
Terry,
wait to show you what we've done. And let
yes,
me say
yes.
that what he's going to show you when you talk about how fantastic it is, don't let him tell you that those are his ideas. I love design, so tell me what you think when you see it. So
Listen,
I'll turn it over to you, Ori.
okay, well, listen, we go. I want to tell Terry first. I love that yellow door, man. I'm telling you right now, that door is off the chain. But let us start with Ori first. Ori is the city's reentry program director. The reentry program works with people who are coming out of jail, coming out of prison, to be able to help them to be able to, get their life back on track and to make a living. So I want to talk about your program, Ori.
Definitely. And thank you again, Councilwoman Lanier, for just having us on so that we can kind of showcase the work that we're doing in the city of Riviera Beach. And so, as you mentioned, my name is Ori Bullard. I'm the director of the Reentry Center here, and I've been with the city since about 2007 and since the start of our program. And so we're tasked with taking men and women that are being released back to this area and just kind of helping them to kind of make that successful transition back into being creative and productive citizens. So some of the things that we do, we work with men and women, providing them with employment opportunities, transitional housing, substance abuse, mental health counseling, family reunification. We do pro-social activities. We have a whole list of things that we do. And one of the main things that we focus on is being non-traditional in the way we deliver service. And so a lot of times you might have, where someone kind of walks into an office and there's that kind of typical assessment and doing that. And so there's kind of a cold field. One of the things that we focus on is having our case managers be warm. They're culturally sensitive, and they reflect the community that they work in. They look like the folks that are coming through the door. And so that allows for them to be able to connect in ways that some other agencies are not able to connect. And so one facet of what we do, which I'm really excited about, is our employment training. And so about a year ago, we received a grant through the Palm Beach County Public Safety to increase the employability skills of some of the folks that are coming into our program. And so what we wanted to do was find a way to kind of leverage that to be able to equip them with the skills that they need, as well as provide the wraparound support services for them. and also be able to kind of give back to the community. So that's where we kind of called Terry, who's the president of Urban Farmers. We kind of linked up with him. And so really that's where a lot of this, the work that we're doing is culminating now at 950 West First Street. And so I'm going to bring Terry on in. I don't want to take up too much time because I really want to kind of get to what he does and kind of how we have this collaborative approach. And as Ms. Jenkins said, it's really a three-tiered collaborative approach that kind of works with the well-being of our clients that are coming in, as far as that, and re-engaging them in our city. And so they're a part of a lot of activities that are going on. I know some of our guys volunteer with you, Councilwoman Lanier, and with the high school seniors and kind of giving out those things. They're part of the food drives, and they're really re-engaging with the community, which is really what we want. And so we keep them really busy. So I'm going to bring Terry on and just have him talk about what he does.
Good evening, everyone.
Okay, Mr. Terry. Now listen, now y'all. Terry is a part of Urban Farmers. Listen, this man has rehab houses. We have seed houses that I thought that it wasn't no hope for, but he has definitely came in with his crew. And guess what? His crew comes from Ori. These are returning citizens. The money comes from Miss Anita Jenkins, and the money, everything works together. So that guess what? Now we have something available for people who will be first-time home buyers in the city of Riviera Beach. Terry.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
How you doing?
I am just thrilled to be a part of this town hall meeting. But I want to first just talk about a little sobering moment. Being Black in the United States of America is very difficult. Being an ex-offender in the United States of America is very difficult. When you add those two things together, it is an extremely difficult path forward in life. So I must commend the risk takers, the visionaries, the thinkers, because at the end of the day, this is a place where Black men that come home from prison call home. And if they're not welcome here, they're not welcome anywhere in this United States of America. So thank you, Ori, and thank you, Ms. Jenkins, for providing a safe haven, a place for men to develop a skill set, to launch their lives in a trajectory that is on par with anyone else that is chasing this American dream. This yellow door represents hope. It represents a new and bright idea. On First Street, I am proud to sit here as the sun sets on what arguably is the best home on the block. Now, nothing is perfect, but when we're in this day and age of 2020 and we're talking about solutions, this is a solution to community, comprehensive solution. I am privileged to be the builder. I'm privileged to be the foreman, the friend, the confidant. Sometimes I'm a laborer. Sometimes I'm just in awe by what I'm learning from the men that work for me. But at the end of the day, it's about building infrastructure that has the longevity that creates wealth in a city, that rises the entire tide. 950 was at best a dilapidated house that had potential. And in this marketplace, you guys are fully aware that are people that don't look like you and I that come into our neighborhoods and are able to outbid, outpurchase with cash, with the vision of keeping us renters and keeping us subservient to a cycle of poverty that is not conducive for growth. So when Ms. Jenkins and the CDC bought the asset, they knew that this would be sold to probably a Black family. But what is unique is the process of rebuilding it. And so the men come on site every day with the attitude to learn, with the attitude to be a part of something bigger than themselves. So the synergy between the experienced tradesmen like the carpenters and the electricians and the painters and the plumbers mixed with the energy and the youth of the men coming out of prison that are looking to learn and absorbing creates the best working environment. And so not only do we use the home as a I would say a classroom, but it's a launch pad to engage community. So when we talk about community, we have a relationship with Moochie next door. We have a relationship with Mr. Brown next door. Around the corner, Mrs. Washington, when she calls upon us, we provide aid. So we are building stakeholders and true men that are now associated with something positive in community. They're associated with something that is positive not only for themselves, but they can reach back and teach someone else the exact same skill set. So when we talk about breaking the cycles that we are traditionally in, right, that we historically know, this is a system and a program that changes the output of community, but also the stakeholders. The overall goal at the end of the day is to create fishermen. These men, these men are here to learn a skill set, but then also to become entrepreneurs, to take the next step in life to be fathers, to take the next step in life to be husbands. This is about creating that ecosystem that we know as a community, as folks that have been on the other side of the prison walls, know that we need more of. The people that are taking the census, the people that are engaged in town halls. That is the essence of it. And the byproduct of everything that we do is, as Ms. Jenkins says, is being built with excellence. So as we dot the I's and we cross the T's of the building and the codes, not only will a first-time home buyer have an outstanding product, but what is unique is that they have a product that is built with love. And that is something that you cannot put in a bottle. That is the magic. So as I sit here today, I think about what First Street will look like in the next 10 years as the lot next to us is built, as the acquisition of apartment complexes is figured out. How do we continue to grow this program in a way that's sustainable? The gentleman that are on the screen right now, his name is Ivory. Ivory, before he met me, couldn't read a tape measure. Now he is an assistant superintendent, full of life, full of energy. The thoughts of him going back to prison are not even in his sight. He is focused on building a new family, taking care of his children, and at the end of the day, I'm really looking forward to a vacation because he's been working so hard. What I want to impress upon all of the people that are watching and listening this evening is that to have the greatest impact on community, it takes collaboration. One department can't do it alone. I have been privileged to work alongside Ori Bullard now for 10 years, and now with Ms. Jenkins and her staff for the last 12 months. If it wasn't for that collaboration, the impact on the men's lives, the impact on community would have fallen short. It is the ability to talk about the we, talk about the men first, the homeowners first. It is the reason why the program is successful. In this effort, this is truly a team collaborative approach. And as an entrepreneur and business owner, I wish I had more clients like the CDC and the Riviera Beach, because this type of nuance building is how you actually create change. And with that, I'll turn the floor back over to you, Commissioner Lanier.
Well, thank you so much, Terry. You couldn't have said it better. And with Ori and with Miss Jenkins and with you on board, listen, I hit the jackpot, man. I'm telling you, I hit the jackpot. When I tell you that I've always talked about mass incarceration, I've always talked about, people who went to jail, who went to prison, and guess what? They paid their debt to society. It's time now for them to be a productive member of society. And Miss Jenkins, especially with the funding people that she has provided to get this program, because guess what? I would have never even known about this program. Chanel brought this program to me, but Miss Jenkins said, you know what, listen, I got a little bit of money. I'm gonna make sure that they get this program done. And guess what? She has done that. And when I tell you that I see people who are concerned about this community, that guess what? We have a lot of, I know probation and parole. I know about people who coming out of jail. And guess what? For the city of Riviera Beach, it's a lot of us. It's a lot of us. So we have programs to put those people to work, to learn a trade. They work with Terry. They learn. Man got a yellow door in the back. Man, you can't beat that. I mean, I'm telling you right now. You got Miss Jenkins saying, listen, we're gonna keep doing these programs. And guess what? She take that same yellow door and she makes this available to people who want to be first-time home buyers. And then you got Ori on the side. Ori works for the city of Riviera Beach. All he does every day is men and women who are getting out of, now women too now, who are getting out of prison. and getting out of jail, he takes them and tries to work with them to be able to have them to be able to work with Terry, to be able to work with Miss Jenkins. You can't beat that. This is what collaboration, this is what community is about. And Miss Jenkins, I want to leave it up to you to do our parting remarks because you made this all happen.
Well, this has been a true labor of love, and having the support just puts the icing on the cake. And I'm happy that you mentioned that there are women too who are returning citizens, because the first group of citizens who worked on this house, there was one woman in the group, and people were surprised. And I will never forget Lily. I will never forget her. She learned some skills, she came to work every day. She was the supervisor for some of the landscape projects, just so proud with the work that they've done. Now, the ultimate success of this program, we don't want people going back behind bars. We have enough bars in our lives as people. We want our returning citizens because they are valuable to this community and everybody has something to offer. But wouldn't it be fantastic if one of these returning citizens learned some construction skills and trades, get a job, hopefully in construction, but other things because they're learning job skills and life skills. But wouldn't it be great if one of those returning citizens became one of those first time home buyers? That is what I'm working on. We are going to make it happen. We are Ori, Terry,
No,
Commissioner.
you're right.
We are
Yes.
going to make it happen.
Yes.
I already have an
Yes.
idea of how we
Yes.
can do it.
Yes.
We're going
Yes.
to make it happen. So this, I want to be clear because I know there are people from around the city on the call. The CRA is a partner. The CDC is a partner. This house is not within the CRA. We did not use CRA dollars for this. They were dollars that the CDC raised. And we use a lot of sweat equity in making this happen. Terry and Ori and I cannot wait in the coming days to do our virtual open house for this house. I have buyers lined up waiting to buy it. I am so proud of.
You make me want to buy a house, man.
We can make it happen now. I can make you a deal. It's so gorgeous. The
You
deep,
make me want to buy this house.
we pay so much attention to detail because I've said to Terry and Ori every day, and Terry knows I send him text messages on Saturday, Sunday at night, 5 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. Our community deserves quality. So
Yeah.
we made sure that we had the best that we could bring to the table, the best technology when it comes to electronics and security and safety and the appliances and the fixtures. And I've told the homebuyers class that we have a surprise for them. For the right buyer, we're going to give them a big gift because the house is furnished.
Oh,
We're excited.
don't make me bid on this house, Miss Jenkins.
I'll do something else for you. Now we own the lot next door, so you wait till you see that house next door.
No.
Oh my goodness.
But
But
listen, and you
the
know what?
Go ahead.
I'm gonna tell you something. I thank y'all so much. The reason why I had y'all to come on last because guess what? This here is what I want to. They say, oh, Shirley, you're so passionate, and Shirley, you be talking about. Listen, let me tell you something. This is what I be screaming all the time. Let me tell you something. I got family members who done went to jail. I got people who done went to jail with the prison who done came back home trying to get themselves together, man. And when you have a Ori over here gonna help them to learn the skills, you're gonna have a Terry who's gonna put them on the job training to get the skills, and you're gonna have a Miss Jenkins who's gonna make sure the finished product is something that you can buy.
Yes.
You can't beat it.
Yes.
You cannot beat this. This is something what we call collaboration. This is something that we call, guess what? What I said from the beginning. We ain't trying to beg nobody for nothing. We ain't trying to ask for something for nothing. All we're saying is, guess what? Give us an opportunity. And guess what Ori said, and guess what Ms. Jenkins said. Now, we had some of this money coming in from private donors. private donors, if you're watching, private donors, we're trying to get more houses in the Riviera Beach. We're trying to put everybody on their feet because guess what? This is what, because guess what I told you from in the beginning, we cannot, we can't do it by ourselves. The city of Riviera Beach, TRA, the CDC cannot fund all this by themselves. So the private donors, all of y'all who are watching, got a little piece of change. Give it to the CDC, give it to the reentry program, give it to the urban farmers, so that guess what? Every house in the city of Riviera Beach can be available for anybody who wants to be a first-time home buyer. You can't get no better than that, people.
Yes.
Can't get no better than that.
So,
so guess what? Mr. Terry Booty over at the Urban Farmers and Mr. Ori Buddha from the City of Riviera Beach Reentry Program. Hit them up, people. Hit them up. $5, $10, we'll take it. We'll take it. We're trying to make sure that everybody comes out of jail and prison got something to do, and on top of that, could be a first-time home buyer. And beat it. It is a program that you cannot beat. It is a program that, guess what? It is people who are trying to do for themselves, who are trying to take care of themselves, and not asking nobody for no handout. That is the kind of program I can get behind. So, and guess what? It is 7:55, and guess what, people? I appreciate y'all. My town hall ends at 8, and I'm going to take the last 5 minutes to talk about COVID-19. But guess what? In 2 weeks, I'm having another town hall. And I want y'all to come back with all of your, Terry, all your stuff you done. I want to see it now. Ori, all the people you don't work with, I want to see it. And Ms. Jenkins, you especially, with the CDC and the Reclaim program, bring me everything you got. Because I want the public to know everything that y'all are doing.
Because the citizens deserve it. They deserve it. Yes. So thank you so much. Thank you.
And Ms. Lanier, I just want to thank you for.
I'm going to see y'all in, guess what? 2 weeks. I'm going to see y'all in 2 weeks. Terry, 2 weeks now.
Councilwoman Lanier, Ori was saying something I think you might want to hear.
Yeah, real quick, 2 seconds. Councilwoman Lanier, I just wanted to say thank you for giving us the opportunity to work together. I've been a part of a lot of collaborations throughout the 12, 13 years here. And this is really a true collaboration where we've harnessed the strength of all 3 of these different agencies. And with your office, we're bringing everything together and we'll be able to have that finished product. So thank you for advocating for us and supporting us and pushing this project forward. So I just want to give you your kudos.
Man, thank you, Terry. Man, Terry, you are on the reentry program. Guess what? Everybody who got out of jail and got out of prison, they come to see you. Guess what? You are the main star of the show right here, Terry. I mean, you're the main attraction here. I'm gonna tell you something. What I said before, I got relatives. People come out of jail. Guess what? They come to see you first. Then they come and they check Terry. And Terry give them some work. Then they come and check Ms. Jenkins, and Ms. Jenkins make sure the project is financed. Guess what? You are their first line of defense. So, thank you for making sure that everybody who comes in the city of Riviera Beach, who done went to prison or jail, they're gonna come check you, and guess what? They have an opportunity to be able to meet these fine Mr. Terry Buter, these fine Mr. Annetta Jenkins, these fine people to be able to get their lives back on track.
Amen. Amen.
Public comments, you guys. Public comment.
Okay, all right. Public comment, y'all.
No, we just want to mention that we want people to email public comments at rivierabeach.org in support of this program.
Yes.
So please support the program. Let your council members know that you are in support by emailing to public comments at rivierabeach.org.
They are absolutely right. Anybody who is watching us tonight, I know that we said 8 o'clock, but it's 7:58. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. Anybody who's watching right now, this program right here, through the Reclaim program and the CDC program, through Urban Farmers and through the City's Reentry program, I'm telling y'all, this is the program that you need to support. You need to, guess what? Get your little money up and put some money towards it, people. Listen, I'm telling y'all, we're trying to make sure that, guess what? What I said from the beginning, we don't like to ask nobody for nothing. We're very proud people here. But guess what? Put your little money up and let us get something with Terry and with Ori and with Ms. Jenkins and get these houses together so that people who are coming out of prison, people who are trying to do the right thing, guess what they can do? They can own their own home. You can't get no better than that.
Amen. Amen.
You can't get no better than that. So guess what? With that being said, it is 7:59, and the last comment I'm going to make is that everybody stay safe. Ms. Jenkins said, you know what, Commissioner, come by the house, right there where Terry is. Come by the house, and I want you to see it. I was like, ooh, Ms. Jenkins. I'm like, ooh, Ms. Jenkins. I don't know now. I don't go nowhere now because you know what? I'm very, very cautious about this COVID-19. I'm very, very cautious about staying safe. And I know Terry over there, and Ms. Jenkins said, y'all come, you come out there, Shirley. And Ori said, Shirley, just come and see. I was like, you know what? I really want to see it. But listen, let me tell y'all something. Keep yourself safe. Wear your mask. Social distance. Terry's sitting outside by himself. He don't want over there. Miss Jenkins in her office, and Ori in his office, and I'm in my house. So guess what? Keep yourself safe, people. And guess what? These three faces that you see, Miss Jenkins, Mr. Booty, Mr. Buller, any little change you got in your pocket, make sure they get it now. Because guess what? We're trying to stay safe. But guess what? We also understand that after the pandemic, it's going to be over with. It's going to be over with at some point. Guess what? We want to have people to be able to say, you know what? I got my own house. I got my own place to live. Guess what? This is what I'm going to say. I'm going to sign off saying, guess what? Reimagine Riviera Beach.
Yes.
And Riviera Beach is reimagined in what form? Helping everybody who want to do something for themselves. We're trying to help everybody who trying to do something for themselves. And guess what? And with that, people, I'm out. I see y'all in 2 weeks. Thank y'all so much for my town hall. I appreciate it. And everybody who was here, everybody from Noel to Mr. Evans, everybody, I appreciate everybody. And I will see y'all in 2 weeks.
Yes,
and we're
ma'am.
going to do this again.
Yes, ma'am.
Good night.